podcast on True Radio Network, coming to you live from the lab. Season 6 premiere, coming at you with 2 weeks of recap. Stay tuned.
You got to have a concept. You have a great concept. You guys are doing it, man, and it's an honor for me to just be, a small rock, man, in your mountain. I'm gonna pop a top in your honor.
Mr. Doc Walker blessed us with his presence and knowledge.
We want to welcome in our next special guest, Haley Skarupa. She's a three-time world champion in women's ice hockey and most recently won Olympic gold with Team USA.
The Cap Stadium Series is definitely my favorite, obviously. I'm a huge Caps fan, I always have been, and to be there at that game with my teammates and for us to bring, our gold medals to there and share it with everyone in this area was really, really special for me, and just the support and it's been tremendous from everyone in this area, and you could feel that there at that game.
Welcome to Sports on the Hill podcast. Hashtag DC Sports Without the Politics with Carol and Robbie on True Radio Network.
By CP3. Many can copy us, but none can duplicate us. By CP3.
That's right. It's Monday night. Sports on the Hill podcast, True Radio Network, CP3, RobbieG, bringing you the best sports coverage around DC sports about the politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. Welcome back, people. Season 6 is underway. Yes, we took a week off, so we got a lot to cover with the Capitals 7-game stretch going 5-2, and also with the Wizards stretch, unfortunately going 2-5. We got the NBA roundtable. We're going to break that down in the second hour. We also got the NCAA tournament tonight, I believe, so I know they're going to be talking about that also. RobbieG, how are you doing tonight, good sir?
I'm doing okay. It'd be better if the Wizards weren't currently in a free fall in this fourth quarter. Right now they're being scored, I believe, 23-6 in the fourth quarter. And they were winning in this game by, I think, 15 points maybe at halftime, something around that number.
Wow.
And they're right now down 6 with 3:37 left. Neville wants to be a part of today's podcast, if you get off my keyboard. So 3:37 left, 6-point game. Toronto is up, and the Wizards are free falling. I mean, the Wizards won every quarter before this quarter, but yet they're losing this quarter so badly they may lose the game. So a bunch of stuff to go over when we have our Wizards roundtable. So we plan to have Champ and Tim, a little bit of a smaller roundtable, but we'll break down all those Wizards games as well as March Madness, where Champ and I are two of the top three in Brian Brennan's Pick'em Challenge. We both picked both teams that are in the finals today, and if Gonzaga wins, then we were both correct. A lot of chalk this year, which for people that don't know means a lot of the upper seeds won. These, I believe, were the top 2 seeds in the entire tournament. And I kind of didn't watch a lot of college basketball this year, so I just picked the better teams to win, thinking maybe it will shape up. But it's interesting because not a lot of interconference play, right? So just even if you beat all the teams in your division, doesn't mean you're the best team in basketball. But I guess it kind of shaked out like that a little bit here. So we'll talk with live updates with that game. As that game will start in just about 20 minutes or so. But lots to break down. I've got a little news and notes to break down. I know, Carol, why don't you break down the Nationals news, and then I will break down the rest of the news after that.
Yes, unfortunately, you already know the Nats season opener has been postponed and will be played tomorrow versus Atlanta due to some COVID issues. I believe it was 5 players. I know John Lester was listed as one. Kyle Schwarber was listed as one. I can't remember the other guys, but yeah, season hasn't kicked off yet, so we really won't have any Nats coverage for you tonight. But stay tuned. Next week, we'll cover whatever games get played. But unfortunately, with this COVID situation, baseball season isn't starting off pretty good for the Washington Nationals. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Like I said, they a season opener tomorrow versus the Braves. I know they got some double headers set up to make up some of the games that they've missed already. So hopefully we're not going to have a season of this going on in baseball season this year. I've been waiting for baseball season for a while. Last year's season was with all the COVID stuff, but we was hoping for some type of normalcy, but it's not starting out that way.
Yeah, for sure. Let's check one thing. I was very curious. Was this muted? Sorry, I was making sure that we were, I heard a little bit of an echo from my other computer, so I just wanted to make sure that was all muted. Anyway, so my big news, 2 quick things. One is I'm super excited to announce another show that's going to be part of our network that I'm doing. It's like a mini-series. I just got our first couple of people booked for it. I'll be interviewing streamers who love sports and music. It's called Streamers, Songs, and Sports, and it'll I love Windows. It's like, do you want to restart right now? No, I don't want to restart right now. Thanks, Windows. But anyway, so it was, I'm really excited. Josh Turk will be the first person on the show. He's a Billboard charting artist and a good friend of mine and a wonderful streamer. It's about 3,500 followers on Twitch. I'm going to be interviewing him about his career in both music and his love of sports and streaming, and that should be really fun. And then I've got Carly Sings will be joining me. We've got some other people lined up, hopefully, as well. So that'll be starting in May. So just a month from today will be that first episode, May 5th, and I'll give more updates as we get a little bit closer on that. But I just wanted to let people know. And then some personal news. We let the sort of cat out of the bag, if you will, to take a pun, since Neville's sitting next to me, that my wife is pregnant with our second kid, and so I wanted to officially announce that on the podcast. In season 6, there will be times where I will step away or other people will fill my shoes, but the show will still always go on. We're in so many platforms and we've got so many great people, but I just wanted to let people know that the exciting news. We'll be having a little girl in September, hopefully, if all things go right on that. So just wanted to make that announcement, at least formally on here, since I know I had made it on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Instagram earlier this past weekend. And happy Easter and Passover for those who celebrated this past weekend as well. It was a beautiful day a beautiful weekend to celebrate all those things. And so those are the 2 big things. We'll have a brand new show coming next month, which will I'll hopefully get 3 of those episodes on my Twitch channel next month as well. So I'm just going to get a couple of those updates. Not too much football news in the interim right now, but we'll obviously keep people updated as more news comes.
We got a little bit of Washington football news. The Washington football team. I just had his name up here. Where did it go? Signed a wide receiver / kick returner that's primarily going to be used for kick returner duties. They also signed the cornerback Daryl Roberts, and I just had dude's name up here. Where did it go?
Well, while you look for that, I'll just give a quick score update. Toronto and Washington are now tied. Westbrook with the shot, 98-98, 151 left in this game. Westbrook has a triple-double already with 20 points, and they still can't defend. So Toronto takes a 198 lead. with about 1:38 left. So I know we're going to talk hockey to start, but I did want to give a couple of little scoring updates here. Carol, did you get the name?
Yeah, it was DeAndre Carter out of Houston. He's a wide receiver, kick returner, but he'll be specifically on kick return duties. Adam Humphries, who they signed last week as slot receiver, like he's going to be the punt returner, which is going to put more pressure on Cam Sims, who just signed his restricted free agent deal. So he's really going to have to step up with this wide receiving core because now, remember, he was punt returning, but they had some ball security issues, so they took him off of punt returning. Now they're bringing in Humphries, and you got the top wide receiver from that came out of Carolina. I'm drawing the blank. Excuse me, it was on holiday. But this wide receiver core is going to be deep, and now they have some talent added to it along with Terry. So stay tuned. We also going to have our preseason, off-season pre-draft show with myself and Dujonaire, as we always do. We're coordinating now, so it'll be within the next few weeks because the NFL draft is on the 29th of April through the May 1st. And I'm also in the works of trying to get the NFC East roundtable together again like we did last year with podcasters that covers the Eagles, the Giants, the Cowboys, and the Washington football team, which myself will be representing. So stay tuned for the next.
Carol, I got the name for you. It's Curtis Samuel.
Curtis Samuel. Yeah, Robbie, you always on it, man. I drew a blank. It couldn't even come into my brain right then.
Hey, I luckily use Google as my friend, but crazy 3-point shot by Westbrook. Washington takes a 1-point lead. Great defensive play by Denny, I believe. They get the ball back. They're up by 1. There's 17 on the shot clock, 20 in the game clock. So we're just going to stay here for just a second. This is kind of an exciting ending. The Wizards have it in the half court. Westbrook is double teamed. They kick it out to the 3-point line. They drive it in, up, and they miss the layup by Neto. 2 seconds, 1 second. And they shoot it for 3, and they make it. And the Wizards lose.
Oh, dang.
103-101 at the buzzer.
Wow.
Yeah, it was brutal. Okay, well, that's a big choke.
How much longer do you think Scotty Brooks has of being the coach, Robbie?
I think he should have already been fired. But, they got this point guard for him, and Westbrook has played well, and he, balled out. It was a fairly well-contested 3, but just not good enough. So Gary Trent Jr., the 27-footer from the top of the arc. And, Ken thinks he elbowed him to get him out of the way, which, they're going to review it, maybe? I don't know. Maybe they can't review it? Interesting. It did look like he threw an elbow to make space. I've got Ken in my ear blowing up my phone. He's pretty mad about it. And I kind of want them to throw one more replay. I thought that he kind of flung out of the way, but I thought he was trying to avoid the foul. So I thought that was the situation. But, anyway, it doesn't really matter. They called it end of game. So that's they end up losing. Ken thinks it's bullshit. Well, I'll get Ken's thoughts on that. In the Wizards talk, but
let's go ahead and get this hockey segment started. We got a lot of games to cover. Let's go ahead and bring in Anna.
Sounds good. All right, I'll go share this to all the Caps rooms while we bring in Anna here. Anna, how's your 2 weeks?
It was good. Thank you. I just you needed to have a little bit of a mental health break every once in a while, so it was good, and I just can't complain with this weather. It's been fantastic, and I will say I was so excited for you and Liz. I watched probably all of the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, because I will say that Mom's facial expressions, genuine.
My mother-in-law is very emotional. We'll put it that way. If anyone wants to see a really good a reaction, definitely check out my Facebook or my Twitter. You can check it sportsothb.com. It has the link to all of our YouTubes and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you very much. We're very excited, and I know it'll be cool to have one of each. All right, well, we have 7 games to break down. So we're going to rewind 2 weeks. I'll let you break down the scoring of the games. I'll let Carol get his first take. I'll give my take as well on them. We'll try to hammer them out as well as we have 4 games to preview this week. So we'll try to get it all in 45 minutes if we can. We can go a few minutes over because I know I've already taken some basketball time out of the hockey.
Yeah, but I was needed. I was like, I've never been a huge basketball fan. However, I was kind of waiting to see what was going to happen. And then,
yeah, it's a bummer. But all right. So why don't you take us through that, and I will, I'll share to a couple of Caps groups, and we'll get some Caps questions.
Of course. So back March 28th, we play the Rangers. No goals in the first, but the second period has Wilson scoring twice and Ovi scoring his 18th. Third period kicks off with Kuzi scoring his 6th, assisted by Hags and Hathaway. And then at 6:42, the Rangers score, and then again about 3 minutes later, making it 4-2. Capitals, Oshie scores his 8th, assisted by Schultz Orlov. And the Rangers scored 2 more times, but the Caps were able to pull it off with a 5-4 win. This was one of those little nail biters. This game didn't bother me as much. I don't know, Carol, if you had a chance to see it. I feel like it was so long ago, but it was, for me, it was Tommy scoring twice, which was fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. You know, my man Tom scoring, you know, that's always a good thing, especially coming off the suspension. But this game, that third period with them coming back and basically getting back in the game, I feel like that's what was a bad thing because you feel it would fuel the next game. And I think we saw that happen in the game after this one. You know, it was a good win, you know, because the Rangers have been taking it to them. But I didn't like the way that started.
Yeah. And I think this was, even though I took the time off, I didn't really think it was going to be as, top discussion point with the inconsistency of the Capitals not being able to pull off that 60 minutes. And it sort of kicked off with this Rangers game, and I don't know what happened, but we were in a roller coaster of a ride for the next couple of games.
Yeah, like defense is starting to frustrate me because it's becoming a trend, and you got to stop that because that's the one thing that they were known for in that championship run was when they got the lead, they would lock it down for the rest of the game, and unfortunately, we haven't seen enough of that this season so far. Yeah,
I agree. And then, of course, then you have some like Carlson's who've been consistent, and then all of a sudden here comes Dimitri Orlov. To kind of like, I am eating my words, and I'm hearing it on social media for sure about, hey, all you Orlov haters. It's like, listen, we had a reason to not care for the guy for a while.
He's made some good plays. Like I said, he's played better this year, so you really can't rag on him too bad. So, I mean, and like Robbie mentioned before, when, he got his family is no longer, over in Russia, he feels relieved that they're back. And you can see it. I think you can see a difference in his play. So, yeah, he's definitely, he hasn't been as consistent as I want, but he's been more consistent in his play.
Yeah. And I'll have to say that this is probably the first time I will say that I am wanting to see more after writing all the stats down for these last 6 or 7 games, really wanting to see Chara step up more. I think he was one that came in with a bang, and I'm not saying that he hasn't played well, but I definitely am seeing more penalty calls on him versus smart play, and I want to definitely see him come forward with the skills that we know that he has in the leadership for sure.
So I have a question real quickly. So are we talking about the March 20th Rangers loss, or were we talking about the 30th one?
I'm sorry. I wrote down the 28th. Do I have the wrong date?
Okay. Yeah, well, because we were supposed to start all the way back with New Jersey.
Oh, yeah, Jersey.
Thursday,
That's right.
March 25th. That's what I was like.
That's from all that. we started halfway through, I guess.
Yeah, okay. No, it's fine. I was very
Oh my
confused.
God.
I was sharing. I was like, I don't think that's the right thing.
I told
But
y'all
I'm
it was
gonna
gonna
keep
be
on
a strange
sharing.
show, man.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the 30th game, right? The Rangers loss that you just went over.
No, it was the win. It was the 5-4 win.
Got
and
it. Got it.
then sorry, I was thinking that's where we were starting.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
I'm
So
sharing a group, so I just went with the flow. I didn't even think about it. I was like, hold it, the
Yeah.
Devils games was before because I did the graphics. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Anyway, no, it's all good. So, well, we can, I mean, I'm happy that we won that Rangers game, but let's just go back and talk about those back-to-back Jersey games for just a second. So on Thursday, Friday, it was a back-to-back. There was the 4-3 one and the 4-0 one. Do you want me to just quickly go through it, or do you have?
Yeah, go for it, because
Okay.
I somehow screwed this up, and I apologize.
No, you're all. It's
Still
all
on
good.
vacation, apparently.
We're not used to doing 2 weeks, so I totally appreciate that. So the first one was the closer of the two Devils games. They start off by scoring first. Dmitry Orlov does get a goal in that game as well. His fourth of the season, ties it up. They score pretty early into the second period. Ovi gets his 15th of the season, tied by with an assist by Daniel Sprong, and John Carlson's 21st, tied it up. Kuzi got a goal. It was his fourth, made it 3-2. But in the third period, they scored, and then Kuzi scored right after it. So this game, I remember doing the recap. Basically, they kept on scoring in annoying times, but we'd find a way to score like 1 minute later every time. And basically, all 4 goals were Russian, and we outscored them 4 Russians to 3 of their goals. Carol, what are your quick thoughts on that one?
Like you mentioned, the scoring was like quick and back to back, one after another. The Caps just have Jersey's number this year, as we find out once we go through further into the recap. But it's like the Capitals, just like, I don't know, it's kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters versus the Generals. Like, they know they're going to beat them every time they play them, pretty much at this point.
Yeah, but it's still crazy because it never happened that a team has won 8 games in a regular season against another single opponent. It's just, at least not in our franchise's history.
Well,
and also, I don't even know if it happens very often because usually don't play that many games against a single opponent.
But remember they beat Boston 13 times in a row, and it was embarrassing at some point. So we've seen this team get the upper hand
but
on
still,
another team.
You got. I mean, some of these games were close though.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't
definitely.
think that it wasn't like we blew them out 5-0 all 8 times.
No doubt.
Some of them were, including this game, was pretty close, and I didn't think we were necessarily going to win this one, but I was really happy. I thought the 2 goals, sort of in the middle there, kind of set the tone where instead of playing catch up, we then kind of took the lead, but then they came back, but luckily we were able to hold on and win. Anna, your quick thoughts on that one, and then we'll go over the other Jersey game.
No, I think this was exactly what Kuzi needed and Kuzi fans needed, to see him come out and score, let alone twice, and which was great. And then, of course, anytime Ovechkin scores, you can't go wrong with that. But to have a Orlov in there, this is kind of the beginning for him for the next couple of games, where we're starting to see him really insert himself into the game and not playing so impulsively with passes and just taking shots randomly. It was like he really has his head in the game, and like Carol said, hey, if it's his family being here in the States with them, great. Be in that perfect mind space or head space and continue with it. But I thought it was impressive. But I like the Russian win. It was good.
Yeah. Just really impressive play overall. Let me just quickly go through the scoring of the other game, and then I'll get your guys' thoughts on it. This was known as Sammy's shutout game, right? He had not got a shutout in a year, right? I think it's only his second career shutout up into this point. And then Ovi scores 2. He starts and ends the scoring. Nicholas Backstrom gets a goal in between, and so does Connor Sherry. Ovechkin, went from having 7 goals on the season to 17 goals, I believe, in 10 games, which is
amazing.
People are like, what? They thought he was done. He was counting them out, and boom! It's like everyone thought he was out of that goal-scoring race. And as we'll continue to talk about it,
They never count that man out. I don't know when they're gonna learn that, man.
Yeah, it's crazy that he can keep on doing this, though. I mean, this isn't 725, but I believe he's at 725 now, and just some incredible numbers, and it's interesting to hear people say, of course, a lot of people try to compare Crosby and Ovechkin, all that sort of stuff, but I always said you should sort of compare Crosby to Backstrom because they're more of the same positions. But Ovechkin is a pure shooter, and there's no one better in the game than him. And he's probably going to go down as the greatest scorer in history, just because of the era that he's in. Less goals are scored now. It's harder to score goals, faster defense, better goalie gear, all of that. And, he's able to still find ways. Yeah, and I like it because it's a wide variety. Over these 2 weeks, we see stuff at the doorstep. We see things in his office.
Yeah.
We see things in the middle of the paint. Some greasy goals, some grinded out goals. So it's not like, the common thing is he can only shoot from the dot, right? I mean, that's the common when people try to, or you can only score on power plays. But that's not what we're seeing, at least over the course of the last 2 weeks. So those are some quick scoring. Great game by Sam deserves the 1 star. Obi with the 2 goals gets the second star on that one. They scored 2 in the first, 2 in the third, which is phenomenal because I put Zach to bed in the second, so I missed the whole second period and both intermissions, all the scoring. So that was a great game for me. Carol, what were some of your thoughts on it?
I mean, it was I was rooting for the shutout. It was good that Sammy got it. This was one of his better games. He had better rebound control. He was locked in. And this is the Sammy we need to see going forward. Unfortunately, I know he's not going to get 1,000 save percentage every night, but he needs to stay at least in the 900s. And it's dipping into the 800s and the save percentage. You got to do something about that because playoffs are right around the corner. And then to touch on Obi, I mean, it's just amazing how many different ways he can score, how he scores in bunches. And, he's in the running for the Rocket trophy again. He's won it 9 times already. Rocket Richard only won it 5 times. They're going to have to change the name of that trophy to the Great 8 because he's won it so many times. And if he can put it together and do it again and for a 10th time, I mean, how can you not say he's the greatest scorer, in all of this era and of all time? Unfortunately, this COVID situation shortened the season, so that's going to make it a little bit tougher for him to catch Gretzky, but you see him moving up the ladder, almost milestone week after week. So I just love watching that dude play, and I'm still working on trying to get an interview. I know some people that know some people that I think know some people, so I'm working on it.
Nice. So then, Anna, what are some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm right up there with everything that Carol just said. I love when we're in an era of being a sports fan and watching somebody who is truly history in the making. And Alex Ovechkin, so personally for myself, moving from California to here in December of 2004 and then turning, to 2005 and hearing all about this guy on Elliott morning and, what were the Capitals going to do. It's just so awesome to follow a career like this. But he's just an amazing athlete, and you can't have anything but respect for somebody that when you can tell when he's out there, he is giving 110%. He's on it all the time, and I love the fact that he is as excited for his teammates when they score, or the goalies, and that to me is true leadership. So he is amazing. And as for Sammy, bravo. Deserve that the shutout, and let's hope that momentum continues because there is so much skill and talent in our goalies, and I don't want to hear anybody on social media, starting to throw them under the bus because I won't allow it. No way.
I mean, they put up some good numbers. There's been some inconsistencies, but Sammy's what, 2nd year, 3rd year. Double V is a rookie, so I mean, the fact that they've had some issues and they're still, sitting at number 1.
Yeah.
I mean, that says something about this team, and that's why I'm not really panicked about the defensive situation because we've seen this all year and they've still been successful. I'm just looking to start seeing the defense locked down, getting closer to the playoffs, and unfortunately we're not seeing that. with these upcoming games. They only had 2 losses, but the 2 losses in those 2 weeks were ugly losses.
That's true. But I will say that one of the interesting things is Laviolette has not changed the defensive pairing. You know, he's kept it tight. He's kept it the same. And I think for whatever reason, he's got some strong faith in that. But then when he changes, like, you know, benches Brana and, you know, Ponick or whomever else needs to kind of sit out because they're not doing as well, speaks volumes. I think he wants to show the fans and the players that he has a lot of confidence in the D-line, and let's hope that they can just continue doing what they're doing. But I don't want to see any more 8-4. I mean, that game was awful. It was painful to see that. So I don't know. I guess we're just gonna have to see what happens the next couple of weeks ahead.
Yeah, it's hard to watch those really bad ones. And it's just hard to know where the team is at when you're trying to compare Devils games to Islanders games and Rangers games. Like, it's just, we don't have any more of these games against New Jersey, so we're going to have to face some of these better teams in this division, and we're in a tough division, and it's going to be a dogfight, every
Too many Boston games coming up.
Yeah, I mean, just, looking ahead, I mean, we'll go through the other games, but Islanders, Boston, Buffalo, Boston. So, I mean, you got Buffalo, which we should hopefully beat, but, I mean, it's 3 tough games, this upcoming week for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't have a whole lot to break down this Islanders game. It's one of those games you just kind of want to burn the tape. Just look bad from the. I mean, it started off well with Carlson scoring pretty early, but three quick goals, and then we got back in to make it 3-2. But then we can't even enjoy that for very long. And I thought in the second period they made it 4-6. I thought, oh, maybe if they just put it together a really good third. And then it just, the third went the wrong way. And
it just fell apart.
Yeah. Carol, any final thoughts on this game?
It was just ugly. The Islanders looked like they were in a different gear. That damn, what's his name? Barzal, he made a hell of a play, taking it basically coast to coast and scoring it. And when I saw that, I was pretty much done. But you have to recall the Caps did beat the Islanders 3 times at home. They are the best team at home in the NHL with only 1 regulation loss and 2 overtime losses. So they played very well at home, but that 8-4 loss was not the way you want to start out because they had 4 more games in New York versus the Islanders, and that wasn't a good way to start off that 4-game stretch down this run to the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have anything else in that Islanders game. Let's just go on into those Devils games because they'll leave a much better taste in my mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. So April 2nd, we have Caps versus Devils. No goals in the first. Second period, Carlson gets his 10th assist by Eller, which was welcome back to Tiger. And the Devils score at 12:53 to make it 1-1. No goals in the third. And then here we go. Dmitry Orlov, overtime at 4:39, scores. Capitals win 2-1. This was kind of a crazy shift from shots on goal when they played the Islanders because then it was 22 versus 33 for New York. And this one, Capitals came out shots on goal 40 versus 23. So this was kind of one of those moments where you want Laviolette to really speak his mind in the locker room. But I always think it's not just the coach. I think the players can also, express their frustrations. You're coming off of an 8-4 loss. And there was no excuses. There's no reason why they shouldn't beat the Devils. So this was good. And unfortunately for me, because I fell into purchasing Sling, I am no longer able to see any of these games. So I am now having to listen to everything via John Walton, which I am a huge fan of, but it's just not quite the same when you can't see it on TV.
Yeah, it's a bummer that Sling has gotten rid of, and so as part of DirecTV's package, I heard too. So
Yeah.
and there's talk about there's going to be shifting media markets upcoming, so it's going to be interesting to see. We've loved our guys for so long. I hope that, either this can continue or Monumental Sports ends up making their own network, which I think could easily happen.
Yeah.
They have so many of the teams, and, they could easily, at least, even if it's not an all-the-time channel, they could always put stuff in between. But, I hope that they're able to continue to cover this team. And I know that they've only talked about eliminating the national NBC Sports, not the local one, but we've seen the downsizing in a lot of media over there over the last couple of years as well. So who knows what's going to happen. I want to shout out some of the people who are checking us out on Facebook Live. I appreciate it. Tom Gobble, enjoy Alex Ovechkin while we have him, because in 5 years he's going to be back in Russia, and the Caps will be starting a new transition. One of the 5 greatest players I've ever had the privilege to watch.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. I got his jersey right here, one of the first Capitals jersey I've ever owned.
About the transition, I think they're in a good place right now when he does leave. They have enough talent around him. You still got Oshie, you still got Wilson.
But 5 years, I see what he's saying.
True. It's going to be different not seeing him on the ice, but I think that they've set themselves up in a good position where it won't be a drastic fall off, that they have, some pieces in place, especially that they've drafted that are, down in the AHL getting some time. So I think they're in a good position. We've seen some franchises in this area not prepare for when the superstars want to leave or retire or whatever. But I think the Capitals are one of the better teams in the position, for that transition whenever he does decide to hang up his skates.
And I think that they're a team that have strong vets, that when the new players come in, the young players come in, there's a good balance between sportsmanship and leadership on one end and skill and speed on the other. That's a good balance between the two, and they kind of learn from each other, so that if they get older and have to retire or, move on or whatever it is, the younger players are starting to learn how to be more mature in their approach towards the game versus, kind of going out there and just dropping the gloves immediately and whatnot. So I think that's what I've always appreciated about the Capitals, just in as a team as a whole.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot in the news and notes I had an announcement to make, but I'll just put it here since it's Capitals and it's Wizards related as well. Ted Leonsis actually made a statement today. I'm just going to read it because I think it's important for Caps fans and Wizards fans to know. All of us at Monumental Sports Entertainment are disappointed with the city's failure to grant our waiver allowing fans to attend Capitals and Wizards games this season. Our staff have worked tirelessly putting in place numerous infrastructure upgrades and health and safety protocols to protect fans and staff. Despite these efforts, Washington, D.C. is on track to be one of the last American cities to host fans at indoor sporting events. Frustratingly, it remains unclear which metrics we must meet to obtain a waiver allowing responsible number of fans into Capital One Arena. Nevertheless, our players, coaches, and staff are determined to finish the season strong as we march towards the playoffs and can't wait to play in front of our fans again. And so that's disappointing. So on a footnote, Brian Brennan's not on the show tonight. He's actually was at the Yankees game this evening, so I know he's having fun in New York doing that. And he said to get in there, it's 10%, I think, and you got to either show a vaccination card or get a note saying that you've been tested within 72 hours. I think that's fair.
Absolutely. And I think, honestly, the same time that popped up on my phone, I was watching the news tonight, about what popped up on my phone was about the Capitals not being able to have fans. And then what was on the news was the Texas Rangers opened their stadium.
The 100% capacity.
40,000.
No testing.
No. And so for me, I'm thinking,
terrible. They have 3 warnings for the mask. They ask you 3 times, then they kick you out.
Yeah.
3 warnings for 100% capacity.
40,000.
I doubt they ever
people.
give more than 2 warnings to anybody because they're just not going to care at that point, right?
Well,
I mean,
no, and if people are drinking, it's going to get them more fired up, and they're going to start this whole like America and like, oh, don't even get me started. I can't even.
but they can do that, but we can't have
Yeah,
anybody,
10%.
even if you were tested, even if you were
Yeah,
like, how could this be the same
Yeah.
America?
I don't get it.
I don't even want to get into this discussion.
Yeah, I know.
I don't even, because I might get us taken off the air tonight. Don't even get me started, because
I may just get a Facebook ban.
it's sad that we can't have some fans in the stands, especially if the Capitals continue and get the #1 seed. Some teams are going to have fans or something, so that's a home ice advantage, and that's what you play hard for. So
Yeah.
hopefully, it is what it is. All we can do is move forward. They say they'll be the last, so maybe towards
Maybe it'll still happen by the playoffs.
yeah, maybe. Hopefully, we can cross our fingers.
But the fact that they're not even willing to talk to them, and I feel like he had to publicly shame them by tweeting this, right? Because I feel like this has been waiting, because he said this. It's been waiting on the dockets for a while, and they're clearly not getting back to him. And so he thought, well, I have a pretty big platform and a mega Twitter. Why don't I tweet this? Because that'll make a lot of news, which it did, unsurprisingly.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's like, come on, like, they deserve at least 10%.
They deserve an answer. I mean,
and an answer, yeah. But it's like,
what are the metrics? What did they have to do to get fans in there? If they can't even tell them that, I mean, they don't even. It's a non-starter. They can't go anywhere.
Now, was that decision made because of what happened with the kickoff to the Nats?
No, they just haven't heard back, I think.
Oh,
they didn't say anything about it, but like from reading the subtext of that tweet, right, it just looks like they're just not getting back to him. And he finally got fed up. Sometimes when you keep on calling somebody to get something repaired and they just don't get back to you,
right.
Eventually you're going to tweet about it, and then suddenly they get back to you, right? So someone's going to have to respond now, right? Because, I mean, now there's going to be public pressure, but
wow.
We'll see how that goes. But anyway, I know it derailed us a little bit, but I think it's an important topic because I think it'll affect how the rest of the Capitals season goes. I think if we don't have fans, it's going to be hard for us to win the Cup this year. I'll be honest.
I agree.
That we have. Because I think that will be such an advantage on road rinks and such a disadvantage to us that we're talking, it could be a difference of a game. And we know from previous playoffs, they played poorly in the bubble last year, and I don't think they would play well in front of empty fans.
I'm not really too concerned because I remember when they won the Cup, they won all the series on the road. So it's just about the mentality and the mindset. It is an advantage to have the crowd there. You can feed off of them and, help get the momentum swing. But ultimately, it comes down to them playing better, 60 minutes, 200 feet, not just picking 8 points where they want to play. So I think that's more of what they need to focus on instead of fans, meaning the stadium playing defense for 60 minutes and, not giving up these 2 and 3 goal leads that we've seen them give up recently. So they just got to get it together on that before we even talk about fans. We got to talk about the play on the ice first.
Right. All right, let's go back to the ice then. But I did want to at least mention it because I think it's an important
definitely.
topic.
I'm glad you did. I didn't even catch that statement, so I'm glad you did bring it up.
Did you go through the double scoring? I've now caught it so far off track I don't remember.
No, I did it for the win.
Orlov with that hell of a shot over the blue line.
Yeah, that was a crazy shot. I love that he didn't know, and I love this.
It's a facial expression, like, wait a second, and that to me, I'm like, hey, have a little more confidence that that went in and that kicked out. Way to go.
Yeah, it looked like it went off of the knob of the goalie's stick a little bit. That's why I deflected so funny and went in so quick and was out. And I had to rewind and look at it myself. Yeah, he's like, that went in. I was like, I said the same thing when I saw it, like, that went in. It looked like it went off the crossbar. But it went in and out so fast.
He said he didn't know until the opponent goalie walked away, and he was like, "Well, I guess that went in." Right? So, that was his clue. I was like, "I guess I can celebrate." So, but his shot reminds me so much of a Ovechkin shot, like that wrister, like that crazy shot, right? I mean, it's amazing how much I think he's learned from Ovechkin. I think that, I think of all the Capitals, his shot is the most similar to Obi's, like from the point and from the dot. And I think he has gained a lot of confidence playing with Ovechkin, and just an impressive skill, and to do it unassisted. I mean, he went, from one end of the ice to the other. Orlov is not known as the fastest skater on our team.
I was gonna say that was full Brana mode there.
Yeah, exactly, and so really impressive, and he deserved the #1 star. Just an incredible game, and it was just an interesting game. No scoring in the first, no scoring in the third, and we kind of just held on to win. But some good goaltending, by Double V overall. Only 1 goal against on 22 shots. They put up 38 on Blackwood. He played a great game for them. But just overall, I thought it was just a good game. TJ Oshie had a +2 on it, so he was a good player for us. Do you guys have any more thoughts on that game?
I've got a quick scoring update for anybody who was watching the Philly-Boston game. Philly defeated Boston 3-2 in overtime, and Brad Marchand was mad because he actually took the shot that got deflected, and Philly went the other way and scored on the play. So it was good to see him upset.
But he just had a hat trick that got him a win over Pittsburgh. So it happens. It's so tough because it's like all these teams we hate play each other, and it's like hard to know who to root for. Except for the only thing you can root for is not to go to overtime. So
I will always root against Brad Marchand, no matter what team he plays.
Even if it's Philly, though, it's just not easy.
Hey man, Philly having their issues with goaltending right now. The fact that they could beat Boston and keep them down, I'm happy with that. And the fact that Marchand was mad, it makes it even better.
It's also close. I'll get into the standings in a moment. Let's get your thoughts on the last game in this series against New Jersey, which looked like it was going to be a sleeper at one point, and then it kind of
just changed. So you have double scoring first, and then Oshie scores his 11th, assisted by Ovi and Dylan. And I'm still a big Brendan Dillon fan. At 1916, second period has Sheary getting his 8th, followed by Ovechkin getting his 19th. The power play goal assisted by Backstrom and Kuzi, which was a sweet.
And it ties him for second place all time now on the power play goal scoring list.
Yep.
That's exciting.
With Hall, yep. And then third period, Hack scores a shorty at 2:41, followed by Kuzi less than 3 minutes later. The Devils scored 2 more times, but the Caps hold it 5-4. To me, the statistics on the shots on goal were insane. Capitals 19, Devils 39.
And at some point, it was even worse than that. I think that it kind of evened out a little bit towards the end, but at one point, they were just out shooting us 2 or 3 times the volume.
Yeah.
We're going in, and theirs were not. So, I mean, shots on goal is a weird statistic, right? Because it doesn't necessarily – you want to get a lot of shots and you want to prevent them because it gives you a better chance to win. But this is a game and a perfect example of where that doesn't always hold true, right? A goalie could stand on his head. The flip side, and I think that it's unfortunate that Samsonov gets 4 goals against. I think he played really, really some great hockey.
He had some 6 saves.
Yeah, I think, it's another stat where people see 4 goals against, must not have had that great of a game, and people use that as
897 save percentage.
Yeah.
When you get below the 9s, they're always gonna bring that up. 4 goals against it, because with both of the goalies, Samsonov, I ain't gonna say especially, but he's still trying to get back from the COVID situation. That's why I haven't been so critical, but. Some of those goals that get by him shouldn't get by him. And that's what I'm waiting on to click when he starts making those routine saves and continue to make those stellar saves like he's been making.
But I think it could have easily been 7-4 Devils in this game, if Sammy doesn't make a lot of some of those key saves, both down the stretch and earlier on. I agree. Right. He did let up some. It's such a weird sport where he'll make such an acrobatic, crazy save, and then he'll miss one, as you just said, Carol, that we think that he should have had. But, you got to ride with these guys. People are always like, should we, the deadline, should we trade one? Should we get a veteran? Should we do this? Should we do that? And I'm like, I'm not sure we're going to win it all this year. I would love us to.
Yeah, but
like,
see, the
it
catch
takes
to
a
the
couple years to
acrobatic
develop.
save is means they're out of position and they have to make that acrobatic. We saw that with Hopi. He would make those great stellar acrobatic saves, but it's because he's out of position. When they were successful, he didn't have to make those plays because he was always in position, always muscle memory doing it on a consistent basis. Not saying that I'm expecting Sammy to do that now, but when you see less of the acrobatic saves is when you know a goalie is in good position and being fundamentally sound because he isn't having to make those acrobatic saves going side, crease to crease because he's already tracking the puck. He's following, what he's been taught. When you make those acrobatic saves, that means you're pretty much out of position and you're pretty much having to just throw your body in the way and hoping that you hit the puck on the way and you get lucky and it happens.
Right, and I think that there are so many times that we are going to have the one side of the fans that are going to say, oh, those 4 goals. But how about the 35 saves? Like, let's focus on the fact that he had 35 saves. That is amazing.
Which is also shows the defense could have done better in this game.
Of course.
Yeah,
No,
they
I
haven't
mean-
been blocking shots as aggressively as they were under Trotz. I'll say that, and even under Reardon for real.
Yeah. And so there's a lot that they got to work on. I don't want to paint a too rosy a picture, but also not too glum of a picture. Because I'm telling you right now, I think Sammy can be as good as Holtby. And I think Double D could be too. Sammy at this point in his career Holtby at this point in his career wasn't the Holtby that won the cup, right? It took him a couple of years in the system.
Exactly.
And it took him a couple of years to develop. And if we had just kind of given up on him in year 2 or 3, we would have never have gotten to where we are. But I understand that in a lot of people's opinions, the window might be closing, and it's not necessarily so easy. But I'm happy that they were able to hold on and win because a lot of people I knew thought it was going to become 5-4, and then they thought that when they pulled the goalie, it was going to be hectic, and it was. But I thought overall they limited the shot attempts when it was 6-on-5, and it wasn't like they were just peppering him constantly because I feel like momentum was sliding, and if they had let enough shots get through, maybe there is an equalizer there. So the defense kind of stood up a little bit at the very, very end, but it is disappointing that you can't put them away. But at the same time, we got to celebrate 8 wins over a team because it's
Absolutely.
so rare, and it may never happen again for our franchise. You got to beat the teams in front of you. And I understand that the next game, and so we'll get into the upcoming series here, is going to be against the Islanders. It's going to be a real test. It's going right back to the Islanders, where a week before on Thursday we got shellacked. And how do we respond to that? Carol, any last thoughts on New Jersey before we head into the Islanders, and what are some of the things you want to see going into that?
Winning 8 over Jersey, they were out there captain for most of the season. They're still in rebound mode, trying to figure it out. They got some good leadership now, so it is what it is. And yeah, going to the Island, they definitely gonna have to respond after that 8-4. You said shellac, and I'll say I want to say something else, but it's a family-friendly show. But they got their butt kicked pretty much and got outplayed in every aspect of that game. And if they don't respond in that first game back up there, it's going to be a long last 4 games versus the Islanders.
Yeah, for sure. Anna, what are some of your thoughts on going back to the island?
That's it. That's all I have to
You
say.
love Nassau Coliseum that much,
That much. It's just like, oh, I'd love to be there live. No, I will say that Gil and I actually had a good conversation about this last night, and my big thing with the Capitals is them playing consistently, and we're not seeing that as often. It's like it's been this roller coaster of kind of back and forth, and yes, Laviolette can bench a Brana, but something just kind of changed and shifted with these guys in the last couple of weeks, and it's like I want to see them get back to enjoying the sport as it's going out there on the ice, playing with their teammates and kicking ass, because when they don't overthink things and overshoot and overly aggressively hit somebody into the boards or, whatever it is, this team is just it. They are fantastic to watch. But you get into this mindset and of overthinking or trying too hard, they just tend to lose. They're just kind of losing it a little bit. So I want to see them just back to the basics. It is truly always going to be back to the basics. You know, play 60 minutes, be where you need to be consistent, and yeah, 60 minutes of hockey. They have it in them to do it. We know they can.
I have to
And
disagree a little bit, Anna, on the overthinking. To
Go ahead.
me, I think it's they're getting out hustled. Because whenever this team gets beat, is when you can see the other team getting to the loose pucks, doing the things, you know, to get the extra possession, to keep it in the zone, to, you know, play solid defense when the Capitals do get on the odd man rush. They're back checking and getting the puck back and then getting in transition and then scoring. So I don't think it's out thinking. I think that this team, some points when they get a lead, they get a little lazy and complacent and think that it's, you know, like it used to be in the good old days where they could just pass the puck around and, you know, get a goal because of their superb passing. Teams have seen this over and over and over again from the Capitals, and especially the fact that they want to cut playing this way. You know, teams are. I see it a lot that they're taking away time and space, so they don't have a chance to make those pretty passes, those tape-to-tape passes. And like Robbie talked about earlier with Ovi, getting those dirty goals in front of the net. That's when this team is successful, when they're being gritty and going down in front of the net. You know, taking those cross checks in the back, but you get position and get that lucky bounce off the goalie, or you have a good position for the deflection. And that's what I see is missing from this team, that grittiness. I don't think it's overthinking. I just think the hustle and the want isn't there in some aspects of the game, hence why they bench Rana. You know, he hasn't been doing anything really offensively, and sometimes if you check him out, because I have been, you can see his lacks on defense, and that's what Lavia said. He wants to see effort, and unfortunately, Rana hasn't been putting that effort in on a consistent basis, along with a couple of other members on the team also. So they need to do a gut check, have a players-only meeting or whatever, but they need to figure out what it is and get it fixed ASAP, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that the Islanders kind of have our number in the sense that they have Barry Trotz, who seems to understand us better than we understand ourselves, and so that's frustrating. But hopefully they'll get angry and they'll use this as vengeance. I wanted to just talk real quickly. We'll take a break from going over the schedule just to talk about the standings for a second. So the Islanders are the second best team. They've played the same amount of games as the Washington Capitals, I believe, and they have 2 points less and 2 less regulation overtime wins, which is the other tiebreaker. Pittsburgh's now in third. They've been on fire. They unfortunately lost their last game, but they're all the way up to 50 points. And then Boston's right behind them at 43. Philadelphia, so that's the cutoff right now for the playoffs, right? But Philadelphia and the Rangers both have 39, so they're only 4 points out of that last spot. So they're
Philly
right there.
beat Boston tonight.
Yeah, and Philly beat Boston tonight, right? So this isn't even updated. So now they're only 2 points back. Or, well, I guess it was overtime. So it was
it was overtime, yeah.
Yeah, so they gained a point back on them. So it's now 3 points. But Philadelphia still probably played 2 more games in hand. But the Rangers are right there too. So I mean, it's a very close down the stretch, and then there's Jersey below that, and then Buffalo 10 points below that. So I just want to kind of set the stage of where the standings were, because I think it's important. You know, the Islanders are the second best team, and then we're going to go on to Thursday and play the Bruins. I have a relationship with Carly Sings. I moderate her channel on Twitch, and she's going to be on my show coming up in the next month. And she's a diehard Bruins fan, and so we always trash talk back and forth there a bit. But the Bruins are good this year. I mean, they kind of haven't missed a beat without Chara. I think that they're not the President's Trophy winning team that we saw, from a year ago. But they're not bad. They're only 6 less wins in the win column than us, so they're right there. This game will be back in Washington without fans. I'll start off with Carol. What are your thoughts on playing the Bruins?
It's definitely going to be a competitive game. It's always been chippy between those two teams, and I hope the Capitals, handle their business because, like I said, I absolutely despise Brad Marchand. And every time they could beat them, then I'm good. And continue to get distance and continue to fight for the #1 spot, even though we know the President's Trophy don't mean nothing. You still want to be going. You still want to go into the playoffs playing your best, and not being complacent and not having holes in your game. You want to stay sharp and play your tough opponents, which they are against the toughest division in hockey. So I think it'll get them tuned up well for the playoffs. You just gotta try to get consistent, like Anna mentioned, and play defense the way we know this team can play defense.
Yeah, so they'll play Philadelphia 3 times out of 4 games, with the only game that's not against them is the game against us. So I thought that was kind of interesting. They play today and tomorrow, so it's a back-to-back. And so hopefully that wears them down. They'll only have 1 day off, and then they play us after that. So I'm hoping they'll want revenge against Philadelphia. Hopefully they get the win maybe, and they feel good about themselves. And then we can take advantage of that or something. And then they play Philadelphia, and then they come back to play us again. So it's a lot of Philadelphia and Washington for the Bruins in this upcoming week for them. And so I guess we don't have to break them down twice because we play them both on Thursday and Sunday. But in between, we go to Buffalo. So it's a very short homestand. We're playing in the island. We have Boston at home, and then at Buffalo Friday. That's a 7:00 game. And then to Boston on Sunday. So a lot of traveling in this condensed schedule.
Have they lost to Buffalo this season?
They did lose. Good question. Hold on. I'll look that up. But
yeah, I can't remember if they lost. I think they might.
I'll look that up. While you.
If they did, it would have to have been like in the very, very beginning.
Yes, it was. Because they played them 4 times in the first 6 games.
Yeah, I think they lost 1 out of those 4.
Buffalo won the last game in that series.
Yeah.
And then.
But now, like, Eichel's out, and there's a whole bunch of.
Well, Buffalo is Buffalo. They're on a 19-game losing home streak. Last time I checked. So, yeah, it's.
Right. Well, no, until they beat Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. So that's what they did in the year. I was
rooting on them to win. They almost went the entire bunch without winning in March. I have it right here. It's like down the card until Philadelphia lets them off the hook with a 6-1 win on the 31st of March. They waited to the very end of March.
I was actually rooting for them that game. I saw the score and I was like, I hope they don't give up the lead and lose this game. I think they were up like 4-1. I was like, I hope they don't give up the lead and lose this game.
And then they lost to the Rangers, and then they beat the Rangers, and then the Buffalo Sabres have 2 games against Jersey on Tuesday and Thursday, leading into that Friday game. So they'll also be playing a lot of games this week because we're just talking about how we're also playing on Thursday and Friday. We have a back-to-back. So at least both teams that situation. But, I mean, Buffalo's not good, but they still can win. Anna, do you have any final thoughts on Buffalo before we move into that last game?
No, I think it's just, at this point, we just can't drop our guard. And, so it's you go into it and play and show us 60 minutes, whether it's the Sabres, whether it's the Islanders, Rangers, whomever. I think my concern is when I look at the team and I want to see their potential, and I think they're being so great in this little bubble, then you think of all the other bubbles and their top contenders. Do the Capitals compare to them? I don't know. I don't want to think about the Vegas Knights, and I don't want to think about other teams, the Canadian bubble. But it's like, my God, you just want to see this team come out and be consistent.
Well, I think if we come out of the East, I think we have a good chance of winning it all. I think it's by far and away the hardest division. I think that it's.
Oh yeah, but I don't know. As much as I know, God, Carol and I both hate Marchand. I really, truly don't even get started on Ryan Reeves. So when I think about if we ever have to go up against Vegas, it's like, God, they're good. It's just all that kind of stuff.
It'll be weird that for the Final Four, so people don't remember the situation. We may play a Western team for the Final Four, but then if we got to the finals, we may have to play a team that would have been originally on the East Coast, like maybe Tampa Bay for the final. How crazy would that be if the Lightning played the Capitals for the Stanley Cup? Something that no one would imagine because side before, but
It's
it's
like you just
it's
honestly,
a real possibility this year.
I think we all were like, oh, 2020 don't
Right.
count anything out. I'm kind of at that like 2021 don't count anything out. Like,
I'm gonna
it's
do like the
just
dude did at the what was
crazy.
it, the Super Bowl. I'm gonna make a bet if that happens that the Capitals play, say, the Tampa Bay Lightning for the Stanley Cup. I'm gonna make a bet that somebody wasn't streaked across the ice, and I'm gonna have to streak across the ice to win that money, like dude did the Super Bowl.
That money? That's hilarious. No, it's they're gonna use this against you, but yeah, it's crazy though because like it's either that or like you could play like Toronto in the finals, right?
Yeah,
So, like,
but
there
I
could
just want to be sure that like the Capitals are going to take this division. Yes, there's the potential, the skill, the fire is there.
I just
Let's
hope that they
see it.
show up in the playoffs. So like that's
And
what I'm worried
yes,
about.
and that's what I want to see. I want to see it, start. I don't want this like roller coaster that we've kind of been going through, and I want to see Rana back up, in the lineup. But you know what? Then a couple of the changes have been really good lately. So
Yeah, that's a good question, Carol. What do you do if they keep winning? Does Rana just keep sitting? Like, I mean,
You gotta earn your spot. You gotta
Yeah.
hustle. You gotta want it. Like I said, we've seen him take off some plays on defense and not, hustle, not, try to back check, not even come down the ice sometimes on the transition. So if someone else is playing and the team is still winning, they might not be getting the same offensive firepower, but they're getting consistency on defense, which is leading to better defense and leading to better offense. The team scores, get a lead early, they lock down on defense because somebody is being aggressive and back checking
Yeah.
and forward checking and doing what they're supposed to do. You gotta want it. And, we saw the same thing with Kuzi, when he started to see success that he wasn't necessarily, putting in the full effort on the whole 200 feet. And then, I believe he got benched once under Trotz and he went out there and started playing hockey like we see Backstrom. That's where I feel like every Capital should emulate Nick Backstrom. He plays 200 feet, he plays
100%.
aggressive defensively, and he's a playmaker on offense. We got plenty of playmakers on offense, but we don't have that consistency on 200 feet of ice and playing defense and being responsible for your position and the things you're responsible for on the ice. And, we love Ovi, but to me, Nick Backstrom is one of the most valuable players on this team, if not the most valuable player.
oh, I agree. That's why for every road game, I wear a Nicholas Backstrom road jersey because I feel like he's such a road warrior too. He's so consistent on both sides of the ice, no matter whether you're home, away. Doesn't matter the game, the situation. He's going to have calm hands and he's going to be able to settle the team down and in some of the key moments. And, I think that he, as Carol mentioned, maybe the most consistent Capitals player.
Yeah.
He doesn't put up the flashy numbers that Ovechkin has, but Ovechkin rides these peaks and valleys, right? There are times where Ovechkin will score 10 goals in 10 games, and there's times where he won't. But Backstrom, even if he's not scoring, he's assisting, he's playing defense. He's rarely do you ever see him even being a -2 on it. I know a lot of people don't like the plus-minus statistic, but I think it does. I think it is very valuable for centers at some points because it gives you a sense, defensively whether they're in good position or whether a lot of teams are attacking that line. And you see constantly multiple coaches whenever the top line of the other team is on the ice, they always have Backstrom as the center defensively against them, right? I mean, you've seen that consistently for the last 10, 15 years. So, I definitely think that is key. We don't have to really recap the Boston again. We're playing Boston again. That game is at 7 o'clock. All these games are at 7 o'clock. I don't really need to go through the times, but again, Islanders Tuesday, Boston Thursday, Buffalo Friday, Boston again Sunday. We'll have 4 games to recap. I'm going to let Anna get out of here. It was a long thing, but I'm happy she was part of this season 6 premiere episode. Anna, if people want to hear more of AnnaK, they always can. SportsOTHP.com has been updated. Click the podcast partners button. And then click on the Power Play Point podcast and you can get the last episode they did with Gil. I know it's already out. Any other final thoughts, Anna, before we let you go?
No, I'm just so glad to be back. It was a good 2 weeks and a nice spring break, and it was great to be with you guys tonight. Look forward to next week.
And happy the Caps got 5 wins instead of the 4 that Carol and I thought they might get. Better than expected. So it was good. So
yeah, and I'll be listening to the games. Hopefully, something miracle will happen. I'll be able to watch them. I don't know.
And stay tuned. I might send you my information where you can stream.
Yeah, I was gonna say I may know a way. So
yeah, we might be able to help you out.
We'll talk you offline.
Yeah, we talk you offline, but we'll figure out a way to get you streamed.
They all swarm my house. I'll be like, I don't know what you're talking
about. Deniability. We'll just hope the FBI doesn't listen to Sports ADHD. Or at least not this part of the podcast. So,
yeah, exactly. All right, good. Well, enjoy the rest of the show, and I will talk to you guys next week.
Sounds good.
Take care, guys.
Have a good one. All right. Yeah, I mean, we're going to break down the Wizards and this March Madness in a second, but I'm going to let Carol, I know that you wanted to have a little bit of a shorter evening. Any final thoughts before we let you go?
As always, appreciate you guys tuning in. Season 6 starting out strong. Got some new things on the horizon. Robbie got a new show coming out. I'm working on some things behind the scene. Stay tuned for so much more. I'm going to cut out of the Zoom feed on Robbie's side, but I got to end the track on my side with RobbieG. We got some things in the work with him. Some of the artists we're interviewing on At The Bar Radio. Make sure you check us out Sunday night, streaming live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Just hashtag At The Bar Radio. You'll find it, trust me. But DC's People Champ, appreciate you always tuning in, chiming in. Tim, is always appreciated. You guys are part of the team, part of the family, and appreciate it. I know I don't talk too much basketball, but that's a whole nother situation. I'd rather watch WNBA than NBA. I'm going to get out of here before y'all yell at me for that.
Right, real quickly, Carol, before you go, we actually have Brian Brennan's going to be a special guest in a moment as well. We got him after the Yankees game to cover some of this March Madness with us. So I'm excited that he's going to be able to make an appearance here as well. But Carol, thank you so much, and I'll let people have the RobbieG track on your feed if people want to switch over to SportsOTHP, Facebook.com/SportsOTHP. Click on my Twitch channel as well, or you can catch it on my YouTube, or there's a lot of ways to still watch the rest of the podcast, or you can listen to the rest of the podcast on all podcast platforms. But thank you, Carol, as always, and we'll talk to you next week for episode 221 of season 6.
You already know. All right, man. Y'all have a good show, and I'm out.
Sounds good. All right, so
if you're still tuning in, check out RobbieG, Money Convo, which I make my acting debut.
Money, I love that money.
Lucas.
Money, 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 money. You don't really want to play. Money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you've been talking about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. It's money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't wanna be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. Money, 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 make you shut them mouth. Don't never ever talk about it if you never had the clout. You don't know what to say. Stay up out of my way. Cause money, 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 make them shut them mouth. Keep playing with the Goonies, boy, gonna have to make the call. Stay in bounds on your pivot, boy, if you gon' ball. Cause a lot of niggas be fake, and you really can't play. Cause we done got it out the mud, nigga, what you talking about? Screaming, oh my God, money got me pride. They living a lie, look into my eyes, they might seem surprised. you talking about. Money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you been talking about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't wanna be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. You never crossing these borders. I'm whipping it up, Gordon Ramsay. I swear that I'm cooking these orders. You talk about me, you better just hope that you can just really afford it. I'm balling, I'm balling, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm feeling like Robert to Horry. Nigga, I'm scoring. I count in the morning. They talk about me, then I gotta ignore it. My bitches be foreign. So independent, my money be corporate. These rappers is boring. You hate me and I'm always gonna adore it. I'm smoking that soaring. She always go ahead, let me explore it. I call her my Dora. You can go and talk about me, I ain't flawless. I go put my all in. If a nigga talk about me, then I'm gone in. You know that I'm gone in. Jump in, take trips, Pompeii, all day, always keep 3 stacks like Andre. I get it, I get it, I get it, I get it, man. And you can never, ever, ever get rid of that. So watch what you say, and watch how you do. If you playing the game, then you play by the rules. Money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you been talking about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't wanna be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money's what I'm talking about.
Don't get this motherfucker right. Right.
If you ain't a boss, switch your position. They hating me on the low. I cannot listen. I pack your bag if you tripping. I got me your superstition that you been looking for ways. Get me up off this mission. My grandma told me, boy, watch what you pitching. You stay safe at the base and not what you whipping. They just all in my business. Scotty knows just what a pippin'. Flow like I be rapping. Tiptoeing J's when I'm riffing. They say I be hot, but I think I'm sizzling. Surgically put on the clinic. Spit it out just to a dentist. Try to do me some good, but they say I'm a menace. We back and forth like it's tennis, and I can't mold out my image. But we can't really change what you already felt, and nobody can say we never did help, never did it to mention. So let's calm all the tension. Let's just show you what's real and just get back to this business, you know. Trying to make a flip up off a quarter P. This is what it is and what it's supposed to be. I've been right here if you ain't noticed me. It's them Southside squad niggas for the D. We been right here if you ain't noticed me. We been right here if you ain't noticed me. We been right here if you ain't noticed me. We been right here if you ain't noticed me. A rapper step up to me. That be a no-no. I be deaf cause they so-so. WWE. I got the game in a chokehold. Stamp it just like a logo. Just keep it